Welcome everyone to another episode of Oddballs. Today we're going to be speaking about a Basque Pelota. So Wes, what do you know about Basque Pelota?
Not all that much, Joe. In a few of the chats we've had pre-recording today, I gather that Basque Pelota is from the Basque region of Spain and southern France. I know a little bit about the Basque region.
Yep.
I know that Athletic Bilbao is a football team from there. They only sign Basque players.
Yeah, Real Sociedad, another football team from them.
Brilliant. But they don't have the same kind of transfer. They presumably develop players from there, but they don't have a restriction on the players they may sign.
Yeah, they will try sign majority Basque players, and they did have a Basque-only policy until, I think, the 80s when they signed John Aldridge, who is an Irish player who played for Liverpool.
Famously not
Basque.
No.
But yeah, since then they've relaxed the policy quite a lot, but still have a lot of Basque players on their books.
Okay, very good. But yeah, I'd say that's pretty much all I know about it. That's the Basque region, of course.
Okay.
Pelota, I'm at your mercy. Please.
So Pelota, a few different pronunciations in the French side, the Spanish side, the Basque language. We'll get the Basque language out of the way for now. It is completely unintelligible for me. I think for most people, it is unrelated to any other language that's known in the world. It is not descended from the Indo-European language family, which every other European language pretty much is. So that includes English, Irish, German, Greek, Italian, the Slavic languages. All of them come from the same root language, Iranian as well. Basque is not related to those.
Okay.
So it branched off thousands of years before. And it's sort of this weird sort of linguistic little enclave where no other languages sort of...
Is there any geographical reason why it is a bit of an enclave? Like, is it surrounded by mountains all the way around or something like that there wouldn't have been so much outside influence at any time, or not really?
It is very mountainous, but no, there's no reason. I mean, there are lots of like Frankish kingdoms, Visigothic kingdoms in the sort of when the first millennium AD came through, often sort of occupied the territory and ruled over the Basque people. But I think that languages don't evolve. I'm no language expert, but languages evolve through similarities, I think. So English and, let's say, French are already similar enough that they sort of evolved together to become modern English when the Normans invaded, obviously. But we're getting lots into linguistics and history.
Okay. I
think let's focus on pelota, which is the original question you asked. So pelota in Spanish is the word for ball.
Okay.
So it's just basketball, basically.
Okay. This is presumably a popular sport in the region, but obviously not the most popular or well-known sport from the region.
What would that be?
Surely basketball.
Basketball. Yes, if only that were true. I think basketball is actually pretty popular there. But Basque Pelota is sort of the national sport of the Basque Country. And they sort of define themselves as a country as opposed to a region or anything. And they have the status of like a nationality within Spain. Almost a bit like Scotland or Wales have within the United Kingdom.
I see. Okay.
That they're sort of a country within a country.
Is it only on the Spanish side that they have that kind of autonomy or that recognition?
So I know that they definitely have it on the Spanish side. I'm not 100% sure on the French side. So they used to, certainly, and we'll come to that a little bit later. But what actually threatened the sort of independence of the Basque Country initially was the French Revolution. Because there were all these sort of, I don't know, duchies and smaller bits of the Kingdom of France and the Kingdom of Spain at the time, that basically the king sort of said, like, or these feudal overlords, whatever, can have their special privileges. And that was a big thing that was taken down in the French Revolution. But yeah, we'll come to that. That's a little bit later in the
we're coming back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think the one question that we always touch a little bit on the Gaelic games, we seem to. And have you heard, hurling is often described as the fastest sport on grass.
I have heard that. I've also heard that it's the fastest ball sport in the world, but I have a feeling you might be about to correct.
It is not. So fortunately for the hurlers out there, that Basque Pelota, particularly Cesta Punta, is not played on grass. It is played on a court because this is the fastest ball sport in the world.
Okay.
The ball is topping out at about 300 kilometers an hour.
That's quick.
That is pretty rapid.
That's Formula One car speed.
Formula One car speed for a ball. And so these guys have to wear helmets so that they're not, split in half, basically.
What is the ball made out of?
It is more similar to a cricket ball than anything else.
No, you wouldn't want to be hit in the head with that.
In terms of hardness, at least. It's a little bit more bouncy because you're throwing it against a wall, basically. We'll come to the sport now. It's most similar to squash that we would think of today. You are hitting the ball against a wall, and your opposition is trying to return it. So again, like squash, there's
but at 300 kilometers an hour.
Yes. So we'll come to there are a lot of.
How big is this court?
Again, it differs. This is more accurately described as a family of sports, I would say, than one particular sport.
Okay.
So there are lots of different variations of the sport according to the sort of a racket that you use. And I use the term racket liberally because one of the original and most common forms of the game is you use your hand. You're not getting up to 300 k's an hour with that.
I presume not. But this is what we spotted the similarity with last week when we were talking about handball. Then we pivoted to Gaelic handball.
Yes,
that's the similarity to Basque Pelota.
Yeah.
The hand version of Basque Pelota.
Yeah, and it's unclear whether they come from the same sort of ancestor, which was a game called Jeu de Paume, which in French is, and I'll remind you this is a family-friendly podcast, Wes, it's called the palm game in French. So it's unclear if they're just both from the same ancestor, or, as you mentioned last week, there were a lot of trade between Basque whalers, particularly, going up past Galway. And there was a lot of trade between them. Potentially, pelota and Gaelic handball influenced each other in the sort of 1500s, let's say.
Okay. So you say that is an iteration or one of the versions of Basque Pelota? Do they all have kind of separate names?
Yeah, they're all called Basque Pelota, but they sort of almost like subcategories. So that's called mano, which means hand in Spanish. And then, again, according to the rackets you have, there are a few different types of rackets. Basically, they're broken down into sort of paddles, which are called paletas. And there are a few different types of those, like 3 or 4 different types of those. To go into too much detail is going to be counterproductive, I think. Then there are kind of like, there's actually, in modern day games, they play with tennis rackets as well, one version of the sport. And then there's almost like an older version of a tennis racket with, instead of modern strings, they play with like ropey strings, like you would think of how long is a piece of string, that type of string.
Yes. Like a ball of string.
Yeah, a ball of string.
Okay.
And then finally we have this Cesta Punta game, which is played with, they call it a basket, but it's a long sort of curved, glove, almost like a glove with like a really extended and curved extension.
I think I've seen pictures of this before.
And they use that to really whip the ball, and that's what gets the balls up to 300 k's an hour.
Okay. So it's only that version of the sport that gets super fast?
Yes.
In terms of ball speed?
Yeah, in terms of ball speed.
Okay.
And typically, so similar to squash, I actually haven't played too much squash, but I know broadly the rules. I might be making some mistakes here. You have to hit the ball above a certain line on the return wall and below a certain line on the return wall.
When you're serving, yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Actually, no. There is a wooden block at the bottom of a squash court that's about maybe a foot high.
Yes.
And it always has to be above that.
Yeah, so it's a similar thing. And it always has to be below a certain line as well. And then one of the big differences, again, this plays into the variations, there are a lot of different types of court in Basque Pelota. So basically it comes down to how many walls you have. There's either the one wall style of Basque Pelota, where the court will extend basically from that wall. And if the ball goes out, the last team who hit it loses a point. Then there is more like squash. There's a sort of a 3-walled plus a glass wall side. Interesting though, the glass wall's on the right-hand side of the players, not at the back, like squash.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So it allows the ball to bounce more on the rebound wall, they call it. I think it bounces more reliably than it would against the glass.
Okay. So can you still play it against the glass? Or is the glass out?
I'm not 100% sure. I think the glass is out. I think that's maybe more for viewing purposes.
Okay.
And then there is another one which is actually... which is just 3 walls. So it's completely open on the right-hand side. So typically the left is in play, the right will be out of bounds, sort of.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. When I was looking at Gaelic handball very briefly, they also have various iterations of the sport, including, I think, what ball is used. That may vary, and then also the courts are a point of difference in the various versions of it. And they have also one which is just a one wall that you would typically have played outdoors at some point, very informally. And then they have a 3-walled one, the front wall, the 2 side walls, and then they have a 4-walled one, which is much akin to a squash court. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds very similar.
Well, it's similar, except in this case, the Basque folk have lost the right-hand wall.
Yeah.
They never lose the back wall.
The back one. Okay. Yeah. So the one wall version of the game is almost a bit like something you could play with a. Did you ever play tennis with those walls where you would hit it over they just have a line in the middle that's almost like a net, and you...
Yeah, I wouldn't say I played it. I mean, once I would hit to myself 2 or 3 times, and then it would eventually skew off and I'd get frustrated. So that'd be it. But yes, in concept.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, you can imagine that it's essentially you're playing with 2 people. Interestingly, Basque Pelota is often played teams of 2, occasionally 3, or individually. But you could imagine playing that with just like, you have to hit it or there, the next person has to hit, and you have to make sure it stays centrally so that you...
Okay.
Do
you know if you are playing in teams, do you have to rotate?
No, you don't.
Not like ping pong.
No.
Doubles ping pong. Then I think you have to hit every second ball only.
No,
you don't have to do that.
I think it's like tennis. Also, almost similar to tennis doubles, you would have someone at the front and someone at the back. Obviously, you hitting it across the net and not into a wall. But typically, you'd have someone more forward and someone more back, and they're going to have relative strengths at being essentially a longer hitter or a more accurate hitter, I guess. So the game is played in sets, and again, it depends a lot on the variations. There are lots of different rules here, and to get it into too many specifics would probably be boring. But it's usually either a single set or 3 sets, and you're either playing to 15 points or 21-point sets.
Okay. So a question, to win a point, is it similar to like the old version of squash where you can only win off your own serve?
No, you can win a point on anyone's serve.
And then do serves kind of just rotate through 3s and 5s type thing?
No, they don't rotate. They stay on the winner's serve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you win 1 point, you might hold serve. You win the first serve, you might hold serve for the entire set.
You could. I don't think it's as it's certainly not as like advantageous to service as tennis is. There are restrictions about you have to serve it. You have to hit a certain area, a certain distance back from the wall. You have to hit on the serve for it to be a valid serve. Otherwise, that's the loss of a point.
Okay.
So there's quite a like defined service area. So I think that maybe takes away some of the benefits of being the server.
Okay. I mean, that's it in squash. You still have to hit above a certain line.
Yeah.
Which is about midway up the wall.
Okay.
And then it still has to land in a designated quarter or be tracking to land in a designated quarter of the court. But it's still a distinct advantage to be serving because you can play it right up against the wall. I mean, you can do... I'm not a pro squash player, but you can do a heap of things. But it is certainly still an advantage. You're talking about the scooping racket.
The long scooping racket. And it's often... It's the game... Sort of... Basque Pelota is played outside of the Basque region. Normally amongst sort of areas that have high number of Basque immigrants. Well, historically had a high number of Basque immigrants. So South America... Well, all of Latin America, basically. Maybe excluding sort of Brazil. And it's often referred to as high lie there. And I think if anyone's heard of this game, it would probably be as high lie because that is what the Americans call it. And I've heard about it through American media, basically. Okay. Like the TV show Archer. I think it was in an episode of The Simpsons, apparently. I hadn't watched it, but... Came across that through my research. So yeah, I think
But it's the same sport, just named differently, or is it a bit more closely linked to just one version of Basque Pelota?
It's more linked to the Cesta Punta, which is this seriously high speed one, and often, so especially the American version seems to have been slightly sort of quite linked with gambling or like bookmakers. It's a little bit like horse racing and dog racing and stuff, and the sort of professional pelota players were often, I'm not going to say that they were in league with the bookmakers, it makes it sound like there's match fixing, but that's sort of, they were paid because it was bringing revenue into the bookmakers, not because of it as a standalone spectator sport. Whereas in the Basque region, in Spain particularly, it is now a professional sport through just sheer spectator value.
Sure.
France is still played, but in a much more community sort of spirited way, just a traditional game. The other thing I forgot to mention about the higher line now is that they play quite an interesting format. They'll have about 8 teams, and they'll play sort of winner stays on. And you earn a point if you win. If you lose, you go to the back of the queue, and the next team comes and joins. And you keep playing until one team gets up to 9 points or 7 points.
Oh, wow.
Depending
How
on the format.
long would a game be?
It can be quite long. The rallies, you mean a point or a game?
No,
Or
a game.
Yeah.
To get your 1 point. How long would that take?
So that would just be a point. Look, I don't think it's going to take much longer than about 5 minutes, but I do think the rallies can be longer.
Sorry, I misunderstood. You don't have to win an entire game to get a point.
No.
It's winner stays on per point.
Per point, yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah.
And first to 9 points.
Yes.
In total, okay.
So it seems like it should wrap up pretty quickly, but I think from playing consecutively, you get tired and therefore unlikely to win. What they do sometimes to speed that along is if every single team has got 1 point, then they'll double the points that are available.
Okay.
So then you're playing for 2 points after the whatever round.
And presumably that eventually happens in most instances. If you keep going, eventually the worst team will pick up a point.
Yes.
And then all the points thereafter all double? Or do all teams have to be on 1 point?
No. I think...
Once they've all reached a point?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it'll happen eventually, particularly because the worst team's going to be getting the most rest. So everyone else will be buggered, and then these guys are going to have lots of rest. Cool. So I spoke a little bit about Jeu de Paume. Again, my French is terrible. It's better than my Basque, but I mean, that's not saying much. It's now called real tennis, if anyone's heard of that often. And so it originated as like an indoor game played using your hands, just to whack it over a net that's in the middle of the room and return. And it just sort of pretty much all the loads of variations were added in from there. And it is said that it's the ancestor of all sort of racket and ball sports, or all sort of hitting ball sports in Europe. There's a little bit of contention about that. People saying that handball's been played in Ireland since ancient times. I don't think it's that unintuitive to be able to have a ball and hit it with something. But formally, this is the origin story of Basque Pelota, of tennis, of squash, of
the French game.
The French game.
The French game is the origin of all of these things.
Jeu de Paume, yeah.
That seems certainly likely in that region or mainland Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably when someone started making rules or like that's when it started being formalized a little bit. In a foreign land across the way, like you say, it's fairly intuitive to hit a ball with something. Yeah,
and there's always going to be like sort of cultural cross-pollination where you find a game that's similar-ish and like, oh, okay, well, you play these rules slightly differently. Like, let's change this and that so that we have half my rules, half your rules. And it changes a little bit and sort of becomes a new sport again. So the reason I mentioned European ball and sort of hitting sports is with the records of a Mayan game from about 1600 BC. So that is ages ago. Using hips to whack a rubber ball against a wall and have it come back. And that obviously doesn't, that we know of, have any relation to these French games. It was obviously way predated.
Using your hips to whack the ball?
Yeah, it was a very heavy ball. So there are people today who play versions of the sport. It's very difficult to. I think we're never going to do this sport because there's so little evidence of how it was actually played, and maybe we'll do a small segment about it one day. But no one really knows exactly what the origins of the sport, or what the sort of, there was a sort of ritualistic element to it, but no one really knows too much about it because of the plagues that swept America when Columbian Exchange happened. I've also thought that was interesting to mention because it ties into maybe another Native American sport we might be doing in a few weeks' time.
Yes.
Lacrosse.
Yeah. I don't know too much about lacrosse, but what I do know about it in a little bit of reading that I was doing, it interestingly ties in to something you've mentioned now when you said they would hit the ball with their hips.
Yeah.
I thought that's particularly specific. Lacrosse is Native American names. It had different names according to the various Native American
tribes
that existed. But in at least 2 of the 4 that I remember reading, the name also had reference to hips in it. So lacrosse was essentially called bump hips.
The hip game.
Bump hips.
Yeah.
Which ignores a large part of the fact that you have a stick with a net on it and a ball as well.
Well, let's not do too much speculation, but maybe there's a link.
We'll see if we tie it up.
So I think that pretty much ties up the Jeu de Paume eventually implemented paddles, eventually rackets, and it sort of splintered off into all these different sports. A lot of them seem to be, that seems to be the origin of a lot of the Basque Pelota versions. They still have the hand. They've got all these different paletas. The share is that racket with the string thing, and then there's Cesta.
I wonder if there would be any link between a sport like this and paddle as we know it now.
Well, I think,
because there is a big element of playing off the walls.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there might be a reason why Spanish players are so good at paddle. A huge portion of the top 100 in the world are Spanish, aren't they?
Well, I think it's said to have originated in Spain.
In Spain, okay.
Yeah. I think this is also slightly contested, and I think there might be links also to potentially having originated out of Mexico. But
again, Mexico is a big player of this. They have almost come up with a version using the tennis racket.
Okay.
But they're big players. They're one of the sort of big 4 in the international competitions, which is, unsurprisingly, Spain and France, and then Argentina and Mexico.
Okay.
Yep. I think we've sort of spoken now about the pelota side. And I'm wondering, maybe we go a little bit into the sort of history of the Basque Country. I really don't want to go too deep in, but I think to understand what this game sort of means is to, maybe you need a little bit of an understanding of sort of the Basque Country. It's something I think we don't have a full appreciation of, like the different countries within Spain, the different autonomous regions within Spain, and all that history. So again, I'm not an expert, but this is what I found out. So we know where the Basque Country is: southwest France, northern Spain, sort of north central Spain, and it's sort of waxed and waned in size over the last 2,000 years.
Andorra doesn't fall into that, right?
Andorra doesn't fall into it. It's very nearby.
Okay.
But it's not part of the Basque Country, no. It's probably, 100 to 200 kilometers east. I think a large part of the Basque economy historically has always been related to the sea. They weren't really affected by the Romans coming into Spain because the Romans were quite focused on the Mediterranean, which is the other side of Spain, and sort of left the West a little bit less developed. But so the Basque people were able to sort of thrive a little bit more independently. Huge sea industries. So fishing, whaling was really big, particularly in the, mid to late 20th century. And then also because there was such a focus on the sea, the Basques were often, they played quite significant roles in Spanish colonial exploits. So often, if you hear of these stories about the Spanish in Mexico, the Spanish in South America, it's the Castilians, which are sort of Madrid-based people, and often the Basques are the sort of second biggest group of people. And often there's a little bit of conflict between the two because the Basques I think the Basques are not part of the Kingdom of Spain, but they're sort of vassals to the Kingdom of Castile, which later essentially becomes the Kingdom of Spain. So they sort of owe their loyalty to the Castilians, to the Spanish, as we would maybe imagine them, but they're not part of the kingdom.
I see.
And I think maybe, they've got a little bit, they always have this sort of sense of independence, of sort of self-identity. And it's sort of retained pretty well until we come to late 1700s, French Revolution, we spoke about earlier, and then Napoleon, about 20 years later, kind of lump into the same story in my mind, at least. And there's a whole big mess. Now it ends up basically France and Spain become nation states. They centralize a lot more. There's less autonomy for the provinces. And this is bad news, basically, for the Basques. So this is early 1800s. Actually, the wars sort of go on for another 50, 60 years. So it's not a great time in anyone's history in that part of the world. And then we get into the Spanish Civil War, which is a very bad time in the Basque Country's history.
Just was it prior to the Spanish Civil War that the division between let's say a border was created through the Basque region? No,
I think a border's sort of always existed.
For French, let's call it French Basque and Spanish Basque.
Yeah. No, I think it's a natural border. I think it's the Pyrenees. I think,
but the region is always extended through the Pyrenees.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of the nation states, I think it's pretty much on the natural border of the Pyrenees.
Okay. It is.
Yeah. We get to the Spanish Civil War. The sort of short history of the Spanish Civil War is that the essentially very liberal, very left-wing government is elected in 1963. The army, particularly a general who's actually based in Africa, in so the Spanish possessions in Africa, called Francisco Franco, decides, along with most of the army, this is not happening. We need to retain sort of a sense of law and order. We need to stop these attacks particularly on the church and on royal authority. And they sort of decide we're going to go to war. Big civil war ensues. Mostly the Basque Country were on the side of the Republicans. So, and particularly also, so the Basques, the Catalans were mostly on the side of the Republicans. Particularly later in the war, Madrid sees a lot of street fighting. The Basque Country and Barcelona are a little bit later in the war, but they're really under the pump by a year into the war, or even 6-10 months into the war. I think the most well-known, atrocity of the war, it was at the time seen as the worst atrocity in modern history, was the bombing of Guernica, which you might be familiar with from the Picasso painting.
I'm not.
Is one of Picasso's most famous paintings. I would say his most famous painting in my mind. It's one of the most famous anti-war paintings. It's a Picasso painting. It's very obscure, but it does really convey sort of a sense of terror. And I think the bombing of Guernica really presaged a lot of the really atrocious acts of World War II, particularly. More so in terms of the bombing side than any civilian. Well, this is also, these are acts of terror on civilians. So it is, and perpetrated by the Nazis and the Italian fascists. So it's not the goodies doing stuff here.
No, not quite.
Anyway, so I think Guernica is a Basque town. It's a symbol now of the Franco regime really kind of stepping on the Basque Country at this point. Eventually, long story short, Franco, the nationalists, win the war. A lot of Basque people flee. A lot of Catalans flee. And those that don't there's quite a lot of political repression. Basque and Catalan, again, culture, language, symbols, all heavily repressed. So thankfully, Pelota was kind of spared of this. A lot of the fighting, sorry, not a lot of the fighting, a lot of the sports were spared from any sort of repression, but they were stripped of any political or, Basque significant symbolism. They couldn't have the Basque flag at the games. They couldn't speak the Basque language in public. All the names were Castilianized, so became Spanish rather than Basque. They sort of allowed these sports to be played, but they Spanishized them.
I see.
Yeah.
I imagine it'd be quite difficult to remove sport from a society.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
you can't stop children in the street playing a game.
No. But you
can remove some of the significance.
Yeah, you can sort of whitewash
represent.
it. And I mean, yeah, look, the people have tried to ban sports for ages. But people always end up finding a way to, if not play that sport, play something. And also, I think it's also often sort of autocratic regimes have found sport quite a useful way to, I mean, it's the whole bread and circuses thing from Roman days. You need to give people entertainment. Otherwise, they're going to realize that they're being treated badly and riot.
Yep.
Anyway, 1975, Franco dies. It's essentially, so Franco almost became the king of Spain. And then the monarchy went back to who would have been the king if Franco hadn't intervened, basically. And he sort of said, we'll have a referendum, but basically, let's have a republic. So again, goes back to Republic Spain, and pretty much everything is not back to normal, but the Basque get autonomy back. So this is not full independence, which a lot of people wanted. So there's a little bit of tension. It's actually one of the reasons that, interestingly, the Basque Country was one of the least pro the new constitution in the referendum, despite the fact that they'd been on the Republican side in the...
what was the reason for that? Did it... was it not in their interests in some respect? Or?
It was. I think they just felt it wasn't going far enough in their interest.
Okay.
So it was definitely in their interest compared to the Francoist regime. They just felt we're not getting enough here. And it's almost, I think, again, a little bit of parallels to the... to what started the Irish Civil War, the treaty. And a lot of people were saying, like, cool, this is obviously better than what we had, but this is not far enough. This is not going far enough. And so, look, it didn't go to a civil war here. There was a lot of violence. Again, a lot of parallels with the Irish case. But I think now we've got to a stage where they sort of have quite a lot of independence, but not, not full independence. Obviously, there's still independence movements, but I think they
reasonably
happy with their self-sufficiency.
Culture kind of intact.
I mean, their culture is huge. So I think I wanted to speak about that. And one of the huge things from my perspective that I know about the Basque Country is their sporting proficiency. So we spoke about Athletic Bilbao, and Pelota is described as the national sport, but they are incredible at football. I mean, even if we just look at the managers, 4 top level managers from the Basque Country. The Basque Country population is 3 million. They've got Arteta, Xabi Alonso, Unai Emery, Andoni Iraola. I think it's sort of 4
They're
of the...
all Basque?
All Basque.
Oh, really?
In terms of players in the last few years, you've got, well, obviously Arteta and Xabi Alonso, sort of 20 years ago, really good players. Javi Martinez was really good. Griezmann, I think, is from the Basque, the French side. Aymeric Laporte as well. I think César Azpilicueta.
Okay. So
I think if the Basque Country had played in the World Cup in the last 20 years, they would have made the quarterfinals once or twice.
By the sounds of it, they would have.
And I don't think you can say that for any similarly sized country other than Uruguay.
Probably not.
Who are another incredible case.
But even then, they don't frequently make the quarters.
No, but they are the best small country in the world at football. Iceland's 10 times smaller and they're decent, but they're not World Cup quarterfinalists level.
They're not.
They're not 2 times World Cup winners, as Uruguay are. Anyway, I've got a big thing about Uruguayan football.
I am noticing this, yeah.
So furthermore, there's big rugby in the French side. Biarritz are a Basque club. In fact, they hosted the Champions Cup final in the San Mamés, which is Athletic Bilbao Stadium, in 2018.
Did they? In Spain?
In Spain.
Oh, wow.
Do you know who won that?
2018.
Yeah.
In
I don't expect you to remember, but it's the last time they won the Champions Cup.
Saracens?
No, they've made the final a few times since. Leinster.
Oh, Leinster, of course. Yeah, Leinster haven't added a golden star in quite a while.
No. 2018 in Bilbao was the last time they won. So John Rom, Basque.
Okay.
Jose Maria Olazabal, Basque.
Okay, so it's a strong golf
Yeah.
presence. Do they have good golf courses?
Yeah, I think they do. So Seve wasn't Basque. He was from essentially one country over.
Or like one province over?
Yeah, so the thing is that the Basque Country is made up of, in Spain, 3 provinces.
Okay.
And there's a 4th one that's kind of debatable. I didn't want to get into this too much. But Navarre basically almost was part of the Basque Country.
And that's where Sevi's from?
No. He's from
one more
over to the west.
Okay.
Yeah. Movistar cycling team.
Yes.
I think they're from the Basque region.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay. Enric Mas is their big guy. And they are famous for bringing through Spanish cyclists in the sport. Lots of them kind of come through and then move on to other teams.
Okay. Are they good at the mountains?
Yeah, I would say they are.
Right there by the Pyrenees.
I mean, typically the riders coming out of there are more mountain goats than sprinters, I would say.
Okay. Well, I know nothing about cycling, so
No.
I'll leave you to go on about that.
Is that so?
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe come back to Pelota now after a bit of our love in on the Basque Country.
Yes.
So we spoke about professionalism. I think about 100 professional players in Spain.
Okay.
Top end, you're earning close to 100,000 euros a year. Bottom end of still professional, which is still top 100 players in Spain, top 100 players in the world, arguably, is about 25,000 euros a year, which is not huge.
Not loads. Is it... this might go without saying, but is it only played in... When you say this is happening in Spain,
yes.
Is it only played in the Basque region, the professional league?
Yeah, no, there's interest in it around Spain. I think there will be exhibitions and there'll be tournaments in Madrid and...
Okay, but I mean, let's say the league would... Oh, I don't know what format they play in, but
yeah.
Typically that would occur in the Basque region.
I think so, yeah. Okay. I think maybe like the NFL play some games in Europe. They'll have
I see, okay.
They'll have one game a season in Madrid or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, similarly, the US used to have quite a big professional highlight.
How do you spell highlight?
J-A-I. So often in Spanish, the J is is either what we would think of in Afrikaans as a G,
Yeah.
Or in English, it's often easier for people to just pronounce it as an H. So if you've heard people say Jose, maybe it's more accurately Jose.
Jalapeno?
Jalapeno.
On a stick.
Yeah. It's the nosiest chili. It gets jalapeno business.
Are you enjoying basking in the glory of that joke?
Yes, I am. But yeah, so highlight was really big in the 70s especially, and then it's faded a lot since then. But yeah, then I think we have international... I didn't even tell you how to spell it. J-A-I is the high, and there's Alai, so A-L-A-I. But it's just pronounced High Alai.
Okay.
Yeah. High Alai. Yeah, I think the big international competition is the Basque Pelota World Championships. So that's held every 4 years. The last one, 2022, next one, 26. Can't find anywhere about where it's going to be. But the last one was in Biarritz. So we just spoke about their rugby team.
Yep.
There were 16 different variations of Pelota played at the
World Championships.
So that is different. So they've got mano, they've got a few of the paletas, they've got the Cesta Punta, share, and they play also so they'll have mano, but they'll have 2 different sized courts as well. So it's not only the different number of walls, it's also sometimes they're slightly bigger ones. So it's a 30-meter court and a 36-meter court, for instance. And whatever. Certain people specialize.
I would imagine that this kind of variation in the sport is potentially to its detriment in terms of growing the game.
Yeah, you would think so. So they are trying to focus quite a lot of their growth on... There's a very simple version, which is the one wall one, and it's they also play with a much softer ball because even in the mano sport, the ball is so hard. These guys have to like tape their hands up, and they say like if you take a break for too long, for like 2 weeks, your hand is in agony.
Oh, really?
And their hands are like different sizes.
So taking a break from it induces agony.
Yeah. Well, when you come back.
Oh, when you come back. I see. Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, there were 16 variations. Spain won 11 gold medals, so it's not exactly internationally competitive. Although in the last one,
did France win the other 5?
France won I think they won the other 5. Yeah.
Okay, so
no, they didn't. They wouldn't have. Sorry, Mexico and Argentina. Argentina have got one of the variations that they're really good at. They won sort of gold in the men's and silver in the women's, I think. And again, I think there's sort of certain variations that countries almost specialize in, or that are very popular in those countries, and then they go at it. So Mexico and Argentina are often gold medalists, along with France and Spain, obviously. And then Cuba and Uruguay have won gold medals in the past, but weren't the most recent one. USA and Chile are the only other countries to win medals ever. But it is growing a bit. The last World Championships had 32 different countries represented,
that's more than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's an increase on 14 the previous World Championship.
Okay.
And an increase from 22, which is the most ever, in 2010, which was the most ever.
Okay. Am I correct in assuming pretty much any Spanish-speaking country that you would think of would be represented there?
You'd think so, but they're not. So as much as Spain has got a lot of population, Spanish-speaking countries have got a lot of population, there are not that many countries.
True. I mean, there's not actually that many countries in South America.
Yeah, they're all relatively big. Yeah, and some of them don't speak Spanish. So
yes.
Brazil don't really play.
And I mean, I guess as well, this sport is not Spanish.
It's Basque, yeah.
It's Basque.
But a lot of the, because I mean, we spoke about a lot of people emigrated after the Spanish Civil War. Typically emigrated to South America.
Okay, so they would have taken it with them.
Yeah. And then there you sort of, maybe you mix a little bit more than you would have because you're not geographically isolated. So then more people are exposed to the game. It becomes more interesting. So South Africa were represented at
I was about to ask, are there any teams that would surprise me that they were there?
Yeah, so Ireland.
Ireland was there?
Yep. I think Guinea was there. I must double check this.
They were.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know these things. I've just whipped up the list on Wikipedia. Guinea was there. Jamaica was there.
That's lovely.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
Interesting. Philippines.
Yeah.
The rest,
Philippines,
not surprising me too much.
Philippines is a lot of Spanish. I mean, was a Spanish colony. It's named after King Philip of Spain. So that makes sense.
That does make sense. Bosnia and Herzegovina.
That is interesting.
Not sure there's too many Basque nationals living there these days.
No.
Okay, but I mean, that's pretty... So 32 teams, and that's not too many Asian sides.
No.
Or countries, but I mean...
But yeah, look, I think a lot of these would
pretty strong South American... Well,
yes.
Greater America and European representation.
So similarly, it's often played at the Pan American Games, so we've just spoken about. And that is, weirdly, it seems to almost be up to the decision of the hosting country what sports are played, because when it's been hosted in Brazil or Canada recently, they've just said we're not playing Basque Pelota. But every other time they've played it.
That's particularly strange because both Brazil and Canada were at the World Championships.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Okay, but they've never won a gold. They've never won a medal.
No, I don't think they feature too much.
So again, Mexico and Argentina dominate Pan American Games. Again, other countries I mentioned: Cuba, USA, Peru. I don't think I mentioned them earlier, but they're using Chile. Peru are hosting the next Pan American Games in 27, I think.
So presumably we will see it.
We will see it. I think it's scheduled to be on. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The going back to the professional side of it, which happens mostly in the Basque region.
Yes.
Is there international representation within that, or would that be primarily Basque individuals?
No, I think it would be primarily Basque individuals.
There's not people coming over from all the world to participate in this professional side of it, because I presume this is the only region in which it's actually professional.
Not that I'm aware of, but it wouldn't surprise me if if there were one
A
or
few.
two. Yeah.
Okay. It's a little bit difficult to really get a good sense of the sports when there's so many variations of it.
So
right?
I think, I think the eye-catching one's really on mano, because it's sort of a more traditional version of the game, and like just see these guys whacking it so hard with their bare hands is pretty incredible to watch. And then the Cesta Punta, which is the high speed, that's the real cool one.
Of course.
The ball's going at 300 k's an hour, and it's basically as hard as a cricket ball.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite a spectacle to watch.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I was just struggling to wrap my head around is kind of we've been making a few comparisons at times to squash.
Yes.
But just a quick Google here, just in terms of the scale of the courts they play. And you even mentioned earlier they sometimes play all 30 and 36 meter long
54
courts.
meters as well for the.
So I mean, it is a massive.
It's huge, yeah.
54 meters is more than half a rugby field.
Yeah.
So it's played over a much bigger arena than what we'd imagine squash to. I mean, not imagine what squash is played on.
Yeah.
But I mean that makes sense when you know the guys are flinging it at.
Yeah, there's
at 300 kilometers an hour.
There's a French variant of Cesta Punta. It's called like a Gran Cistera or something like that, which it's an 80 meter long court. Well, it's not even a court. It's an open court, so it's the one walled thing, but the line stops at 80 meters.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to have 20 meters extra in case.
Just in case.
Just don't kill someone, basically.
That is pretty immense. So yeah, I would say no more questions, but I think just kind of wrapping your head around that aspect of actually the size of the sport is pretty interesting. Yeah.
I think it's enormous and rapid, and I encourage people if they're curious to watch a point or two on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting looking sport, and I think one of the most remarkable things to me is with that Cistera with the long curved basket, they call it. They hitting the ball. They're not sort of.
Oh, they're not scooping it.
They're not scooping it
and
per se.
Flicking it.
Because they do it so quickly, it has that sort of flicking effect. But it looks, when you just see it, it looks like they're just hitting it.
Ah, I see.
And that's pretty remarkable to see as well.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think we'll find a video and include it in the description below.
They will sometimes
anyone
scoop it over the head, but
for anyone to have a good idea of, we'll just do the basics and then we'll do some trick shots.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Joe. That was super interesting.
Cool, thank you, Wes, and thank you for everyone listening. And just a reminder to subscribe and to rate the podcast if you are enjoying it, and please don't if you're not enjoying it. Thank you very much.